Hello and welcome back to the finale of HyzerMedia's coverage for the Warwick Open from Brakewell, still Warwick. This is the final round lead back nine. This tournament is run by BS Bochantin Upshot and supported by our Patreon sponsors. I'm Dave Oster here with Wendy Oster. Wendy, how's it going?
It is going great. I'm looking forward to back nine.
All right, and take a look at their scores from the front nine again. +1 for Ben and Rich, even for Keith, and -1 for Will. So we'll start right away with hole 10. What do we got, Wendy?
Hole 10 is a par 3 at 262 feet.
So we have a big, high, wide hyzer over and around this hedgerow of trees, or there is a sneaky gap forehand, maybe a little bit of backhand turnover to get through there and down into the green. So we'll see which these players choose as we see Keith attempts to go through that sneaky line, but looks like he just went a bit too wide to the left. We see Will looking up. Looks like he's going the backhand hyzer line.
Big high shot.
Hit something, drop. Hit and drop. OB.
And he was calling for it to hit something and drop, and it does. That was just a bit too high. Hyzered all the way back across in front of the tree of hedgerows. And winds up in bounds. So we'll see what he can get from there. This is more of the line you're looking for to go around the trees. You kind of have to throw a stall hyzer up and straight and let it just fall back down, because it is a downhill slope past the trees, and Rich does that fairly well. He's probably circle 2. See what he have. Oh, that needs to sit. I think it does. Yes, it does. So Ben was going right towards that out of bounds line. So you see just on his left, and now he's left with this super downhill putt.
Not bad.
And that's where Keith went out of bounds and has a similar putt to what Ben just did. And Will does as well. He just gives it a little vertical flick down the hill, trying to just get it onto the green. That extreme of a downhill putt really is a difficult one to actually make. The gravity helping your disc go downwards really changes how you would expect to fly.
Oh, and Rich just hits the top end.
Good par by Ben. Yeah, Rich had easily the best drive out of the group. Probably deserved that birdie, but just a little bit too high on that. Keith with a good putt back up the hill for his bogey after going out of bounds. And we'll see Rich with this for his comebacker.
And saves his par.
There we go. Will still has a bit of that downhill. Downhill can certainly be trickier, in my opinion, than the uphill, depending on the extreme.
Seems like you got nice and low though, to compensate for the downhill.
Absolutely. We'll move on to hole 11, maybe the most unique and pristine hole on the course. Tell us about it, Wendy.
Hole 11 is a par 3 at 286 feet.
That's right, and some of these players can play the safe route around the left side, or potentially even cross the creek 2 or even 3 times, depending on the line that they're throwing. Obviously a much more risky play, but could potentially land you right on the green. Oh, and Will just barely stays up on top, not falling down into the creek after a unfortunate tree kick. That was looking pretty good.
Good work for me, Ben. Benji.
Rich not quite getting that disc to flip like he'd wanted. Kind of hyzers out into the woods on the left, but I think he stayed out to where he'll have a gap. And a very high shot by Ben. Kicking, falling down, and staying safe.
That was not a face of a happy man.
No, it wasn't. He seemed shocked by the result of that throw. Keith kind of following Rich's suit. A little bit too much hyzer. Going into the woods on the left. And it looks like Rich actually kicked out more than it looked like.
Oh, just misses.
Gives it a good forehand run out over the creek. Keith with a little bit of a tree kick. We'll see. Ben has this to go over the creek twice up a very steep slope.
And parks it.
He does, but just barely makes it over the rim.
That was a nice shot.
Keith is a quick player, but he gets it done. Right into the basket.
Oh.
Just right side chains. Needed a couple more. Like that. More like that. Will's putt would have went in. Nice putt by Rich. Saving the par.
There's that putt.
And I think Will must have either been out of bounds or he missed one of his throws because that was a bogey for him.
Putt is so sketchy.
But moving to hole 12. What do we got, Wendy?
Hole 12 is a par 3 at 294 feet.
It is a hard left turn after about 200 feet. Seemingly a nice high hyzer will get you right to the basket every time, but with high branches and it narrowing as you get to the green, this is a harder hole than it looks like. So we'll see how these players are able to do it. And Rich turns away immediately, knowing how early he released that disc. Ben taking it a bit wider and lands it. Probably
nice.
circle 2. It was a bit wet over here on this side of the course, a little bit lower down the hill. It had rained a lot recently. It looks like Ben stuck right into the mud.
Looks like he hit some branches there. Got some leaves falling.
Yep, Keith with a similar place to where Ben's landed. If those trees weren't there, his disc might have kept going. But did get caught up in those branches. Again, adding to the difficulty of this hole. We see Will similarly on the inside, just catching those branches. Richard from a place where we could barely see him. Just has to pitch out, doesn't really even have a look at the basket. Will on a similar side, but has a clean look, just not able to give it a good enough run to make it. Keith a little bit shorter than it looked like from that first shot. And not able to get the height right on it. Best drive out of the group. And Ben also just a bit too low. So all 3 or 4 of these guys right in the same place. Again, for such a short hole, seemingly easy hole, none of these guys are getting birdies. If these guys make their short par putts, that is just what they'll have, is 4 pars for this card. And we did see he was putting in a more traditional style, so maybe just that bit more distance is
right
what he needs to do that.
We are now at hole 13, which is also par 3 at 373 feet.
That's right. Now the drone is flying between these 2 pine trees, but they are not mandatories. Players can go outside or inside of these trees, and this is another hole with graveyard signs in the way. So we'll see how these players get around or over them. And Rich just going wide to the right, getting past the trees. We'll have a pretty open upshot. Ben going big, high, wide hyzer, not even bringing the trees into play. Turning our catch cam operator around. And gets maybe a 50 or 60 footer. See what he can do with that. Keith with a much lower line. I think he just couldn't quite crest the hill there. Had the power, not quite the height. And Will splitting the two trees with a backhand flex line. Keith far enough away, he's still giving it a pretty decent powered shot to get all the way up there. And gets just to a few feet.
Get some. Hell yeah. The next spot, yeah. Yeah,
Rich parks it.
Even closer than Keith, that's right.
That looked really good. Almost.
That was a good bid from Will. Just a bit high, a little bit left for Ben.
And I think we may have, could we have another par round? And we do. Good job, guys.
I'm sure they thank you.
Now we're at hole 14. Hole 14 is a par 4 at 594 feet.
And it is a long way down this hill. The rock wall and trees on the right are not out of bounds, but if you hit them, they will certainly impede how far you can go. You're actually trying to land around here or push through this line of trees, and then go to another very scenic green where that same creek winds around and creates a beautiful green going under this tree, giving across the bridge if you have to, and we'll see what these players are able to do. Just needs to keep moving right. Looks like it's starting to fade back, not in time.
Is that a good roll?
I think that's a very favorable roll. Hits the trees, falls straight down, and then rolls another 30 or 40 feet towards the basket.
Very nice.
Just a bit too turned over for Ben. See if either Keith or Will can split the difference between those first two shots. Good line by Keith. Safe. Bit short of the gap, but he'll have a clean line to get through it. Although he'll have more distance to carry because you do have to get over that out of bounds creek to get onto the green. Putting from the opposite side of the creek is possible, but obviously not the preference. And Will also going a little bit too far left into those trees, so we'll see what kind of looks they have from there. Needs to get over the creek. Oh, kicks and rolls back onto the green. Great shot by Keith. And see, although he was short, he has a much better look than I'm guessing the rest of these guys are going to have. Forehand roller at a Will. And it just keeps going, winds up behind a tree. And another forehand roller. Following suit, chasing Will's disc. does wind up in a bit of a better spot.
I'd be a little apprehensive with rollers going towards a creek.
You know, I was
That's just me.
thinking the same thing, and we see a third roller.
Oh my.
Oh, this needs to slow down. Oh, it is hooking up. Oh, just soon enough. And you're right, rollers towards this creek seems pretty much like a madman's move. But
It worked out for 3 of them.
yeah, that's right, they know what they're doing. But how about the fact that the shortest drive had the best result for the second throw, and the 3 longer drives had to throw forehand rollers towards a creek.
How about that?
Looking at some pretty good upshots.
Very nice.
Couple of decent bids. Now we'll see some putts. Just completely airballed by Keith.
Very nice.
Great putt. Maybe circle 2. Save par for Ben. And Keith with the opportunity for the only birdie on the card does mess it up with maybe a not the right mindset putt, because that was not a good looking one. But we have a few holes left. Moving on to hole 15.
Hole 15 is a par 4 at 611 feet.
So after clearing quite a bit of distance on this open field, you need your disc to skip or hyzer through this line of trees on the left, because that is where the basket lies. A couple more 100 feet through the woods and over another rock pile, and you will find the basket sitting up on this tight wooded green. So Rich will start us off. And a nice flex shot needs to come back. And great, skips right down past that row of trees into that secondary fairway that these guys are aiming for. And Will, with a pretty nice hyzer to flat shot, get way more distance, actually gets up near this next card's bags.
That was quite a shot.
And following suit, Keith throwing a very similar line. Comes up just a bit shorter, maybe a bit of an obstructed next shot by those trees, but good distance. Well, a little high, a little turned over, catches those trees on the right side, but kicks back to the fairway, so he'll have an open look, as we see here.
He certainly will.
And you hear him calling to get lucky, and he does through quite a few trees and skips all the way up to maybe circle's edge. Keith is left with just a lean out forehand, gets a kick off a tree, and then a roller into the woods on the right side.
Right behind a boulder.
Yeah, not an ideal landing spot. And yeah, Rich, little left side, but on the green. We'll have a putt out it for birdie. And Ben gets incredibly close. Gave it a half a run and absolutely parks it. Wow. Not a bad run by Keith, huh?
Absolutely not. Oh my. Just missed it.
Couple inches right side. Not too bad. They'll still have a good par. And a great birdie by Rich. Just goes to show you, you don't have to have a drive like Ben's to get a birdie on this hole.
That's right.
Pretty good par save by Keith after a not ideal second shot. Will also getting a par. And Ben will get his tap-in birdie. Move on to hole 16. What do we got?
Hole 16 is a par 3 at 301 feet.
And we're throwing across an out-of-bounds road. Most players will probably go to the right side of these trees. Not this first basket, but across the rock wall to the blue baskets where these players are going. And forget what I said, Rich is going for a roller to try to clear a rock wall.
Oh my.
Oh, and he gets over.
Does it? How about that?
Not would have been my first guess for how to get a disc over a wall, but he was able to do it.
I don't know, rolling over walls and rolling towards creeks. I just don't know what these guys are thinking.
Well, there's a reason they're playing in the Pro Division and we don't, I guess.
This is true.
Oh,
beautiful.
Again, absolutely parked by Keith. We see a forehand out of Will. Oh, that was looking good. Hit that last row of trees. See, the airspace is there for the forehand until you get to that row of trees. There's just more trees on the left side than there's on the right, which is why I think a lot of players will go for the backhand hyzer. And he almost still gets the birdie, even after hitting the tree. And Ben does as well. Just a bit low. Couple inches, these guys would have been 2 strokes lower. Let's see if just being on the other side of the rock wall will help Richard. Well, it helped him get his putt higher, but just a bit too high. Off the band. A little bit of an unfriendly roll. He is fortunate to get the par save, though, so good for Rich. And just a tap-in birdie for Keith. Great drive. And we'll see, Will. What do you think? Regular putt or the weird putt from this distance?
Oh, there we go. Oh. Maybe should have rethought that one.
I guess he chose the wrong one.
Guess so. And winds up with a bogey.
Easy par, could have had. Just an easy tap in. But winds up with a bogey, unfortunately for Will. That would have had him tied for third with Keith. But instead now he's 2 strokes behind. And if anybody wants to catch Ben, they're running out of time with only 2 holes left. What do we have for 17?
This is hole 17 at a par 4 at 555 feet.
That's right, out of bounds wall on the right side, pretty much as open as a hole can be, all the way down until maybe less than 100 feet around the basket. It goes back uphill and has a couple trees to contend with. So distance really is the key, and placement for your second shot. Pretty good shot by Keith. Right out in the middle. Should have a good line for his second shot, heading back up the hill towards the basket. Needs to keep going right. Starting to come back left. And pretty good distance. He should have a hyzer line going into the woods there, but being too far left, you are kind of pinched off from that ideal straight line up towards the basket. And I think there's a UFO sighting here because Ben's disc is way up there.
Oh my goodness.
Way down, almost past the silver short basket, which has got to be almost 500 feet. That was a throw. And that's got to come back. There's an out-of-bounds wall there. Oh, and it is.
Safe.
And another great, almost 500-foot throw by Will. It must be nice after a lot of these woods holes, technical shots, getting to just open up and throw it as far as you can.
Absolutely. Freedom, no trees.
That's right. But only for a short period of time, because then we're thrown back into the trees. Oh.
And This is what the trees will do to you.
And on cue. Didn't want it to happen. I would rather be wrong than have that happen to Rich, but unfortunately it did.
Oh, that looked like it could have gone in.
That was online. And Will with that straight look at it for birdie. It's looking...
Oh my.
Both Ben and Will with far enough drives to scare the basket, and they both looked like they were going in. And those drives, had they gone in, would have been for eagle, because this is a par 4.
Oh my.
So now they're pretty much parked for birdie.
Oh my.
And I spoke too soon. Maybe a commentator's curse for Will. I apologize. He was farther away than I thought he was.
Good bird, man.
Keith got the birdie though.
That's right. One of the two shorter drives. Still able to get up there and get the birdie. Friendly banter between the players as we wait for Ben to tap in his birdie, and Will as well. So we head to the last hole for this tournament. We have a couple spots that are close, but we'll see how it plays out in this 18th hole. What do we got?
Hole 18 is a par 4 at 616 feet.
That's right, hitting that fairly tight gap, looking straight at an uphill with a low ceiling fairway. Can't really get too much major distance because of that. And then your second shots are going to be going through a line of trees, back out into about as open field as you can get, somewhere to 17, heading to the last basket, up by the parking lot. Let's see how these players finish out the rounds. Pretty good Hyzer shot. Flat flip up for Keith. Gets through the trees, and not a bad spot for him to finish. Ben going for
a roller.
Yep. Can't quite see where that ended up, but throwing rollers uphill, definitely limiting the distance. It looks like Richard's trying to do the same thing. Almost an identical throw to Ben. Looks like his was running out of steam as the time it got to the hill. It caught some of those trees right as it's going through the
It
gap.
looked like it hit a root and just slowed right down.
And forehand for Will. Gets clean, nice, easy. Maybe just a safe play to get through there. Sets him up for this shot. Pretty open up high from that angle. And yeah, it gets way out into the field. He'll be probably 100, 120 feet from the basket after 2 throws.
That was quite a shot.
And Ben getting just about the same distance from a much different angle, but whatever works. I think these rollers had the potential to get up to that hill and give them a shot that could get them up to the green for a birdie, but just not being able to get far enough. They're still throwing through those gaps, which limits their distance because you can't quite go all out and try to hit a gap at the same time. And Keith banks it off the bowl. Can't get much closer than that. Almost giving it a scare. Will's now parked for his par. And this is Ben for birdie. It's farthest drive of the group. Oh.
Just misses.
Almost putting the cherry on top for his round. We'll see the rest of these guys. We'll be tapping out for pars. But looking at this round, Ben came in with the lead. didn't have to play too aggressive, especially when no one was really giving him any challenge for it. And he finishes off the round with a 1 under par and the winner of this tournament. So congratulations to Ben.
Congratulations, Ben.
Absolutely. The rest of these guys, they played well. I think everybody played better the second round than the first round. Nobody was really able to push Ben for the lead, but we will take a look at the leaderboard and see where everybody finished. So our card was the top 4, those final rounds, and Christopher Grant and Matthew Conagle, sorry if I mispronounced your name, topping out our top 6. These are the final results for the Warwick Open. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and this tournament, please give us a like. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. We also have a Patreon with more exclusive content and free disc giveaways every month. But other than that, I am Dave Oster here with Wendy Oster, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next hole.